YSK. The difference between ask and guess culture. Why YSK ever wondered why women want men to just understand everything, why some people have a blunt style of talking, prefer honesty and get impatient with waffling, or why some people have difficulty asking people outright for help, dislike conflict and often worry about imposing on people. The answer is simple to explain but not as easy to understand. This difference arises from something called the ask culture and guess culture. Most people fall into either of the two camps, ask culture or guess culture. Ask culture is a very direct communication style. Ask culture people aren't shy to ask for what they want and need. In turn, they're also used to more direct answers. A yes is a yes. A no is a no. Guess culture is much more nuanced because it seeks to minimize the chance of potentially relationship-damaging rejection, very reminiscent of the saving face culture predominant in Asia. So, guess culture people may try to nudge a person towards the outcome they want with leading sentences instead of a direct request. Ideally, the guess culture person hopes for an offer without having to ask at all. If ask and ask meet, and guess meet, then everything is fine and dandy. But when ask meets guess, that's when the problems start. Direct ask requests often come across as the communication equivalent of backing people into a corner, which guess people are likely to take as presumptuous and feel put out. Conversely, ask people may see guesses, vague hints and veiled remarks as passive-aggressive, and be irritated at having to interpret whether a yes is a yes or actually a no. For instance, a typical ask request might look like, "Hey, I need your help with this project. Can you help me?" A guess request, on the other hand, might not sound like one at all. "I have this really difficult project that I'm not sure how to start." One is straightforward but requires a hard yes or no answer. The other disguises itself as a statement to avoid appearing as an imposition but implies an expectation for help to be offered, which can often lead to hurt feelings if missed or misunderstood. X200b. Edit. Read more here. Navigating Ask and Guess Cultures in a Modern World by Karin Chan. Okay, this explains what irritates me so much about my parents. Thanks. As a French living in Germany, this resonates way more than I'd like it to. In the US, I'm from the Northeast, and ask culture, think New Yorkers. My husband is from the Midwest, a guess culture. Many of our conflicts have been due to these differences in communicating. It's nice to see it all laid out and clear like this. It is situational for me. Sometimes I ask directly, and sometimes I hint. It depends on who I'm talking to and how sensitive they might be toward my request or question. Some people respond better to bluntness, and some better to nuance, and I try to accommodate that. Neat. Feels great that I learned to be an asker. Can confirm, Asia culture about saving face is really us irritating. People usually stall time even when a working solution is at their face. As an autistic person, just tell me what you want. I am not going to catch your implications. I kind of think this is the most substantial contributor to why my marriage isn't working. Wish I could be more ask, feel like guess is a bad habit I got from my parents. Guess culture does annoy the crap out of me, tbh. Just spit it out and stop playing games. Yeah, I could probably guess what you want, but it's not my job to figure that out. Plus I could be wrong and look like a fool. Fuck that. Just for the sake of your pride, not my problem how you end up looking. This is surprising to me. Guess culture just sounds passive-aggressive. I hate when people beat around the bush. Spend a little bit of time in the Midwest and you'll understand guess culture plenty. You should know any kind of "there's two kinds of people" thing usually is not a thing. People are complex and irrational. Most people, what do the rest fall in? Really nicely written. Thanks, Op. Grew up in a guess culture. 10 years of counseling later, I am now an ask person. It is so freeing. Why am I both? Okay. Well, guess what? I'm not a mind reader. Say you want. Even worse are people who hate extremely flaky guesses. Getting an actual answer of them is like pulling teeth. With players made from my own teeth. As a guess person, I really wish I was more direct, and I'm thankful when an ask comes along. I wake up a guess person and go to bed an ask person, I guess. Guess people getting with guess people ends in a thermonuclear explosion. Ask me how I know. Some of y'all complaining about guesses need to understand that part of being a big boy or girl is understanding that different people and or cultures have different ways of communicating. Part of being an adult is learning to adapt to that. I say this as someone who, if I'm not paying attention, will probably miss what some guessers wish to express. In work matters, I just try to politely reframe it to ask if something hasn't been explicitly stated. To confirm, we are postponing X until October to focus on Y, which has a hard deadline of September 15th. I'm an asker married to a guest. Our marriage works because we are aware of this dynamic. Thanks for sharing. I'm definitely an ask. That might be due to my wonky brain. I don't take hints, or even people talk around a subject. I get frustrated when people won't give a straight answer to a question. I often don't understand people even they are being woolly in their speech. I feel like when I was younger I definitely was a guess person. Now I'm an ask person because I like to get straight to the point. It's often better that way too. The best is when you're both, because you over-explain because of your fear to be misunderstood. But also needing explicit detail, relieved face. This is good info, but I think it's more complicated than this. There are social influences, expectations that are gender-based that also contribute to the ask or guess aspect. I feel historically, men have been more encouraged to ask and expect, while women have been more encouraged to suggest and hope. It's good to keep discussing this topic, so communication can improve. We can help each other more. We all have wants, needs, and need assistance in life. Good communication helps all of us. Is this a social psychology theory of the op? Or what is this based on? Is there any studies aligned with this theory, or is it just an observation? Ask culture is assertive communication, which is effective and healthy. Guess culture is a failure to communicate. I resonate with both. But I do prefer the ask culture more instead of beating around the bush. Whereas the guess culture is more polite and respectful of people's time. Would guess culture be more described as implying rather than direct asking? This is literally just a reframing of speech act theory, with ask culture replacing primary or direct speech acts and guess culture replacing secondary or indirect speech acts. Op started with a sexist statement that is not true and denigrates women into one box. Ever wondered why women want men to just understand everything? Honestly, I thought it was just my wife torturing me. I'm ask, she's guess. Fascinating. What a great insight. I see a lot of people in the comments saying that different countries are ask versus guess, but from my personal experience it's a generational situation. My own parents require a lot of finesse when asking for help or favors, while my kids always come up with a direct question. I feel personally attacked, but I'm not entirely sure in which way. As someone who is firmly from ask culture, guess culture is so irritating. It actually feels insulting when someone doesn't just tell me what they want. Like what, you think I'm such a baby that I can't handle direct communication? The technical term for this is high-low context cultures, in case anyone is interested in learning more. High context basically means there are a lot of background rules, think funeral or office environment, whereas low context means there aren't really a lot of expectations on behavior like a carnival or park. This can of course be scaled up and down from individuals to entire societies. The absolute worst is when someone from guess culture will hint that they want you to do something in the vaguest sense possible, and then get pissed with you when you don't do the thing they didn't ask you to do. I hate guessers. I'm an ask culture person who knows when to use guess culture depending who I'm dealing with, because they find ask culture to be rude, upside down face,